Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the greatest rock and roll stories in the universe, all from the fan's perspective. It's Rock Stories with the Brummster. Now, here's the host of the show, my rockin' daddy, the Brummster.
It is Rock Stories with the Brummster. You get personality back in radio, not just the dry, okay, this is this song and this is that song. And coming up this weekend, we've got more songs. No, we are going to pull back the curtain and give you the actual behind-the-scenes view of your favorite concerts, your favorite bands, your favorite artist. You're rocking with the Brummster. It's Rock Stories with the Brummster. We've got lots of great guests. I'm so thankful and blessed to have been and still friends with many awesome people from my radio history, from my radio career. And behind the scenes, there's no better place to be than when you're working in radio and you're working with cool bands and artists and at these concerts, and you get to see things and hear things and different stories behind the scenes that, you know, other fans don't get to see. So that's why we're pulling back the curtain for you right now. Theater of the Mind. Welcome to Rock Stories with the Brummster. Airs on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and every single Sunday right here at rockradio559.com. My guest today, he's a legendary guitar player, artist, musician, fun guy. My first manager that ever brought me up to be a stand-up comedian. Matter of fact, the only stand-up comedian moment I think I ever had. I had two of them. One was out at the airport and they threw tomatoes at me. But at your show, AC, I was a star and I loved it. No, thanks so much, AC Myles. My friend, welcome to Rock Stories with the Brummster, sir.
Yeah, I remember that gig.
That was at, what, the Starline or downtown Fresno, folks, for those of you in Rio Linda. You were there doing a rockin' gig that night, and you said, Brummster, you're funny as hell. Why don't you get up there and do something? So
It was the Starline then. It was in Fresno. And I don't know what it's called now, Strummers, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's still a venue or not, but at the time, that was a nice room where you could have I think we were releasing some type of an album, and that was a place where you could do it. You could sell tickets, you know. It wasn't just like playing in the corner of a bar. And that was a room that we liked to do that kind of thing in, and you had to fill the whole evening out. So I used to like to have some type of an opener, whether that was a guy with a guitar or if it was another band. And I remember us discussing our love of stand-up comedy because we like that kind of art. And you said, well, I've worked on a set. And I said, well, you ought to open the gig. And it worked out.
I couldn't believe it. I tried the same routine.
I was going to say, I think you did close to 20 minutes, which for a new guy, that's quite impressive.
By the grace of God, all that improv, all those hours at gigs, hosting weddings and running around with the microphone and having 20 minutes to fill on the air so there's not dead air and you don't sound stupid.
Right.
So how lucky am I that I got put through those experiences and never realizing that it was going to give me that capability. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that, that definitely contributes to your quality to do so. Being on the air, there's still an audience there. You're not looking at them face to face, which is a different dynamic, but the process would probably be very similar as far as communication goes, because I would imagine when you're on the air, I did some on-the-air work. I had a blues program that I did for a while with Fresno State, and I would kind of picture a little audience there. I knew someone was listening. Might have only been 3 or 4 people, especially if it was a blues program on college radio. And, but yeah, you kind of have to, you're speaking to someone. There's a different way that you turn on.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the theater of the mind. How are you painting that picture? Now,
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, theater of the mind.
You do it all the time. You paint the picture, though, with music, with notes, with lyrics, with being on the stage. Probably the best cover of Leonard Skinner's Freebird I've ever seen in person in my life, at the bar at Shaver Lake. Been out fishing all day, riding around the lake, caught nothing, came back, had a brewski sitting out there on the patio. Who's there? AC Myles and his band. Next thing I know, he's riding the railing, dancing down the railing, doing his greatest impression, in my opinion, an awesome version of Freebird, dude. Like that.
I was much younger back then.
We all were, right?
Yeah, but I, it's funny because the moments that I've already forgotten and were just another night to me, that ties into doing comedy and being on the air. There's certain things that were just another day at the office to you or me, but somebody else really remembers that, and that's interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely remember. I remember that. I remember just the showmanship as you rocked. I'm imagining Stevie Gaines, my stepdad telling me going and watching Leonard Skinner in Fresno at the Selland Arena and sweat pouring down the guitar and just all the passion pouring into it. You weren't just a cover artist. You're an artist, and you made it your own.
Steve Gaines was very exceptional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That whole group, that was a moment in time.
Right. Right.
And I just saw that Netflix movie about Leonard Skinner, and that's one of my favorite bands. I like the purity that they had. They were very genuine. There was no frills. I love the way Ronnie Van Zant just stood there. He didn't dance around or move around. He just stood there.
Mm-hmm.
And that brought a certain type of command.
That's something you mentioned, Ronnie Van Zant. People don't realize that what a poet he was. Like he wrote like crazy, 100%,
right? 100%. That's why that band's never, I don't want to say they've never done anything since, because obviously they've carried on the torch, if you will. But once their poet was gone, that was the end of the line in a lot of ways. He really was a poet. And from what I understand, he didn't write anything down.
Mm-hmm.
They were such country boys. He was, hell, I can't remember it. To hell with it. Ain't worth remembering it.
That's how it is.
You just see a guy saying that too, Mm-hmm. I worked with a guy, a blues soul guy. I played guitar in his group for a couple years, and he reminded me a lot of Ronnie Van Zant, both in stature and his lyricism. And I used to compare. I go, man, he's kind of like a modern day Ronnie Van Zant. He didn't like rock music much, but he was a really good lyricist, and I think that's what makes it memorable. Those songs. Why are those songs that you remember so great?
Mm.
Well, you can sing along to them. Fogerty would be another good example, I guess.
Right. Tom Petty.
Sure. Which I it's funny. I wasn't a big fan of Tom Petty's music. I was a fan of what he stood for as an artist in that comparison. I liked his originality, that it was rock and roll, and he was from Jacksonville too, from what I understand, somewhere up North Florida.
Florida boy. Yeah, Florida boy.
Yeah. I'll be damned.
Now, by the way, Rock Stories with the Brummster, you're getting a personal introduction to my friend and rocker, AC Myles. Check out AC Myles online. He's an amazing guitar player, an amazing artist, and great singer too. I saw you front the band. I've seen you just play guitar. I've seen you fill in a lot of different roles, and you fill them all very comfortably and do a very great job entertaining and wearing all those different hats. I've very, very diverse. You've got to be whatever is going on around you at the time, and you made it work. A businessman. Now, in this business of concerts, you also opened up and played with some notable artists and bands as well that our listeners would know from classic rock radio, right? Who were some of the cool artists or bands that you played with? Maybe some stories from those memories as well.
Well, I was always kind of billed as a blues guitarist, which I didn't think was very fair, because my musical influences were very blues, but also very southern rock and classic rock, just because of my age and the era that I was raised. And so when I think of artists that your audience would recognize, I wouldn't necessarily go down the line of the old blues guys or the more traditional artists. I would think of people that, there was a time when there was no such thing as a classic rock radio format. There was a time when that didn't exist.
Right.
And when it did become a format, I think some of people's careers were revived. But I think of artists like that. George Thorogood, he was an artist who benefited from the classic rock radio format.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He did.
Because he really did. I think of, myself, I was never a huge drawing artist. I didn't bring hundreds and hundreds of people to my gigs, which was never my goal anyway. I kind of like to swift in and out, and I enjoy my anonymity. But there are artists that choose to become. Their drive is to be popular, and that's who you end up supporting. Is an artist. You may draw 100 people. Well, this artist may draw 500, or 600 or 700, and so a group like mine would add support. Like we talked about with those rooms where you sell tickets, we would offer support to those types of bills. And with Thorogood, that was at the Hanford Fox Theater. And we opened that show. I don't think we played more than 30 minutes. But our job was to get the audience ready for him to come out and do Bad to the Bone.
Yes.
Or Move It On Over, which those songs were not hits. He didn't sell millions of those albums, but when they became in rotation in classic rock radio, they became staples. Everybody knows that song. It's like saying B.B. King, Thrill Is Gone, Tom Petty, American Girl, Leonard Skinner, Ooh That Smell, Freebird, whatever it is. And that may not necessarily, of course, listeners such as ourselves, we maybe dive deeper into that. We like the B-sides and some of the tracks that aren't necessarily played on radio. But that's the beauty of what you're doing now, is that you can expose different types of songs and artists. And but going back to that show, I remember we loaded in only about an hour before we hit. Then the doors opened, and we just came out and played. But I do remember his road crew. They were all Nashville guys. And he had I think the drummer was the original drummer he had when he first started. He was from the Northeast. I don't know if it was from Massachusetts or exactly where. We didn't spend much time with him because he was doing his meet and greets.
Okay.
While we were playing, so we didn't really have a lot of time to converse. When you're on the road, there's no time. You're lucky that you just want to get back to the hotel, try to get some rest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before you have to leave it the next day or what have you. But his road crew they were real nice guys, and the band was real nice guys. And being in a band that have toured and traveled like that, I knew the drill. So we weren't trying to tie anybody up or get them in the corner and talk music business no. That's not what happens backstage. There may be some small talk about that, but for the most part, you're talking to like people, like we would talk. Well, gee, I like fishing. Well, who's your favorite team? Oh, yeah, that guy's got hell of a defense this year. it was there's not a lot of music business crap.
Right. Real people.
Yeah, and I like people like that. You know, it's funny. I was just at my father-in-law's 70th birthday party. And we got the band in there to play for him, you know, and let him sit in on drums because he plays drums. And that was a hell of a party. One of the gentlemen who showed up was a friend of the family there. He was Tesla, the rock band Tesla. He was their front of house. He's been their front of house engineer for a long time. A real nice man. His name was Steve something. I don't know the man personally or anything, but you know, he came out to show support to the family, and we just happened to be playing there. And they said we talked, and we didn't talk about music business. We didn't talk about, hey man, I heard you work for this rock band. You know, what can you do for me? And it was nothing like that.
Right.
Nothing. We talked about motorcycles and stuff like that. You know, he was a motorcycle enthusiast, and it was just a real mellow situation. So that's what I found is, and I guess when you're younger, you probably don't know that because you don't know exactly where your course is going but as I've aged, I found that it's better just to be genuine, pure.
Right.
You know, I used to catch a lot of flack for having a Southern accent, which kind of comes in and out sometimes. Well, he's phony, he's fake. Well, my father was born in Memphis, Tennessee. And you should have heard me when I came back from Europe after spending a month in Germany playing all those jobs. I was very much like this, and yes, we were trying to do the best. It's a communication thing.
It just happens, basically, right? It happens. You never lose the sauce if you're from Rhode Island or Boston, right? You never lose it totally. But if you're out here for 20 years, you don't sound like you did when you came out 20 years earlier, right? It really does absorb and change you, huh?
I think so. You know, like that tying back into stand-up comedy, that comedian Dave, I can't think of his name. He does the Larry the Cable Guy character.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Dave something, I think.
Oh gosh, you're killing me here. I know the answer to this. It's Larry the Cable Guy. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, where is our young Jamie, like Rogan has, to look this up while we're we need our young Jamie. But,
Jamie, look that up, please.
Yeah, right. So yeah, he has that real thick Southern accent, and that comes in and out on him. You know, that's a character he plays. Now, is there some of him in that character? Probably so. That's why it's convincing. But I never thought of myself as a character. I don't think you did either, really. When you were on stage, it seemed pretty genuine, although you go by the name Brummster. You know, my name is A.C. Myles, but those are my initials. And it's just somebody, again, it's an on-air type of, turned-on type of.
Right. Right,
but I think there's some people that become the character. And they do it for so long.
And you nailed it in radio, especially. Oh my God! As someone who is a professional musician and an artist, you know, you've dealt with these DJs. There's some that don't turn it off, huh? Like
right.
That microphone is always there.
Yeah, I never felt that with you. I felt that if we were talking as just buds or chums on the street, that we would just speak that way, and I found that in a lot of people. But there was also a few who they didn't turn it off, and I think they become. I think Andrew Dice Clay would be a good example of that.
Perfect example. Yes,
he just became Dice, and he's really good at it. But yeah, I found that most of the classic rock bands that I was around, I did a lot of jobs. With that playing sideman, because that guy was touring national and international, and we would open jobs like that. We would open for Tedeschi Trucks Band, or it wasn't even an opener. We would just be a day-long festival where they'd have multiple bands, and we might have been on second or third, and they were on last, fourth or fifth. And I didn't find any of that there wasn't nobody talking about the music business.
Right.
You know, not really, unless there was something to be discussed.
Oh,
but
yeah.
there was no hustle.
Right.
Really.
When you think of hustle, by the way, Rock Stories with the Brummster, got AC Myles, a friend for several decades now and for a lifetime. Total rocker, great musician. Look him up online right now. It's Myles with a Y, AC Myles. Look him up online. Amazing musician.
I'm so glad you said that. Myles with a Y.
How many people
I always
put
have
an
to
I,
say
right?
that I have to say that myself, but I didn't have to tell you that. You just said it. You really are you're a natural at radio and announcing. You can do any of that stuff. You could be a politician if you wanted to. It's
scary. I could. Oh my gosh. Oh, Lord knows. No, I'd be assassinated, AC. They wouldn't.
Well, no.
Not literally, figuratively speaking.
There you go.
One thing. Well, I'm 44 now. You never know what's in store for the Brummster's future. You know what God's got planned, but I will tell you.
I didn't realize I was that much older than you.
I didn't even know. Yeah, I'm a youngster. I'm a young buck. Only 44, brother. I'm going to be 45 next April.
Oh, well, I am a little. I thought you said 30. I just turned 40.
Oh, okay.
You got just a couple of years on me, but we grew up in the same era. What do they call us? Millennials or Generation Xers?
It's basically Generation X, and I feel like writing a book someday to where I want to call the title The Bridge Generation. We are the generation that rode in the back of the truck with no seat belts going 65 down the freeway with 5 of us kids in the back of a Datsun pickup. We were the kids with all the windows rolled up, freezing cold outside with every adult smoking. We were the kid, right? We were the kids. Be home by the time the lamps come on. If you're home before those outside lights come on the street lights, then you're not in trouble and you don't get a spanking. We were the kids that got spanked. I mean, so we have our foot there. I started radio with reel-to-reel, cutting the tape and editing out.
Oh, I mean, wow.
Like yeah. I did carts and like I did the...
Yeah, carts. Yeah.
Right. If there wasn't a DJ there to press the button, there was dead air. Basically, for
sure.
Every sound required, it was an art form. You were in the studio with me back then, so we're on that side. But
all laptops now, or excuse me, all computers.
Exactly. Our feet are in both generations now that I have this Rodecaster Pro. Totally awesome board for anyone that's ever interested in getting back into the radio business and making a show and being able to do so with great quality, but not having to rely on going to a studio or some manager hiring you in the business, right? You can.
Well, we discussed that because there's a lot of politics in music, and there's a lot of politics in radio, and that's a good point. You don't have to. You can do your own thing now. It's really the only downfall of that is everybody's doing their own thing, but. Mm-hmm. I think if you do a good quality program like you do and like many others do, you'll stand out. And you said, bringing personality back. That's a big one.
In my opinion, it juxtaposed to what radio has become. In other words, the end product that you were all used to listening to on terrestrial radio, FM radio, it's crappy quality. It's all automated. So suddenly, Rock Stories with the Brummster on Spotify and rockradio559.com, where you hear the B-sides, where you hear all vinyl album side weekends on Sundays at 4 o'clock. The jukebox plays a whole vinyl album side all the way through at rockradio559.com. My friend Brian Keith Martinez's online station. Like literally, we can literally almost like Bud Light and Budweiser. Sorry to use alcohol as the example, but Bud Light and Budweiser, they own the market for years and nobody wanted to mess with microbrews, right? If you wanted a dark beer, you got like a dark Modelo or something. I mean, you didn't get no IPAs.
Those damn places are everywhere now.
Right, and they're everywhere. But how did they get everywhere and take over so much of the market? It was because the consumer suddenly had something worth a darn available. In other words, all radio is right now is what it is. And you don't know the difference because you don't hear an alternative. And yes, everybody's doing a podcast, but not somebody who's a pro, most of them.
That's a great concept too, is not the tangent, but playing the whole side of a vinyl album. That's so great. Isn't that neat?
Brian came up with it. He's a vinyl fanatic, and he's got like 4 decades worth of insane amounts of vinyl, and he copied all these vinyl sides and all these songs to his online station that covers Live365, I think it is, .com, covers the licensing so he could play it. And literally, like, even like half the time what you're going to hear when you hear a single play, you know, between a sweeper on Rock Radio 559, you'll probably hear the pop and the crackle in the song because it's probably something he just figured, I want the vinyl version on the station. Yes.
Yeah, that's really neat. Classic Rock 559.
Yep, Classic Rock. Forgive me. It's rockradio559.com.
Okay, Rock Radio. But is there format Classic Rock, or do they...
It's mostly classic rock, but they deviate. You'll hear oldies. Kent Hopper in the morning. He's on from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. every Friday doing good times and great oldies music, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and then from 5...
Well, rock can mean so much.
Right, yeah, we cover the gamut. Yeah, so there's Stone Temple Pilots were on the other day, Nirvana. I mean, you name it, it's going to run the gamut. Blues, classic rock, you name it. And I do 5 to 7 p.m. The Brummster's Hard Drive at 5 on rockradio559.com every single Friday. Every Friday, 2 hours of the Brummster doing the road show like we used to back in the day.
I was going to say, I think that's the shift you were doing when I met you.
It was the road show. That you used to call me up before you had your gigs, and the radio station would let me know, hey, AC Myles is going to call up and do a call-in and let people know about how they can catch up and rock out at blankety blank event that we're doing this weekend. And
yeah,
like that's how we first met. And then we hung out and rocked out in person for a long time after. But yeah, I mean, radio is not what it used to be. And therefore, the audience doesn't get the same exposure to the bands and the artists and the same feeling out of the concerts or the songs that they used to. Like, the business has really shot themselves in the foot, haven't they, in your opinion, maybe?
Well, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with it that deeply to make that assessment. But I would agree that it does seem it's less personality based. I think they're struggling. To find their identity in 2021 or the new century, because terrestrial radio has more competition than ever before. And I'm not just talking about Stern on Sirius satellite. I mean, you have podcasts, you have like you're doing Anchor FM, Spotify, YouTube. So in order for terrestrial radio to compete, it's going to take some restructuring in some kind of regard. It seems like they've pulled in the reins, which they actually should have opened them.
Right. In all reality, instead of firing all the jocks and treating them like they're just, hired hands to voice track 4 stations in 1 hour.
Right.
Like bring back their creativity, their personality, their live promotions. Hey, out on the corner of this and this, we've got the Brummster broadcasting live, handing out free margaritas or whatever. Right?
So, well, see, you've got a better understanding of it.
It doesn't exist anymore like that.
Yeah, I mean, the last gal to do that was Carter.
Right, and I worked with her prior to leaving the Fox. So we were all trained by the same program, old school radio. It hadn't flipped yet. I mean, we were still loading up the songs from the CD into the computer that were going to replace half of us at the time.
Wow. Yeah, so you've got a much deeper understanding of it. And like you said, with your technology, when I did my show for the college station, I had a great collection of old blues and stuff that I liked. Their blues programming is terrible. It's horrid. It's just a bunch of locals playing their friends, which I get it. But, quality for the audience should be of utmost importance.
Oh, there was a show on Classic Rock 99.7 in the South Valley like 20-something years ago. I was board operating at Soft Rock 97.1 KSEQ. And
well, you're a professional. You could do it.
so I'm board operating in there on a Sunday, Casey Kasem's Countdown. And it'd come to us on CDs.
Well, there's a name nobody even remembers. Casey Case
Is back when DJs were celebrities, man. The Brummster, Casey Kasem, Wolfman Jack, Rick Dees, right? Carter.
Rick Dees. Rick Dees. Wow, that's never heard in a long time.
People remembered the DJ back then, But I'm DJing.
Well, that was part of the program. You had 5 to 7, like you were on 5 to 7. People knew they come home or on their way to work, they could turn you on. Hey, the Brummster, man, that guy sounds like he's having a damn good time doing that.
Right.
As opposed to some guy is just doing his job. There's a big difference.
Big time.
There's a big difference. And, like I was saying, nowadays, for example, I never went into the radio station at Campus R ever. Once to sign the papers said I wouldn't swear, the FCC did. That was it. I recorded everything on my laptop at home. I would record it, export it, send it into the engineer. He would proof it. It was on.
Right.
That was it. It was nothing. There was no need to go in. And they didn't have any CDs worth playing anyway.
Steam and Stan Rufo had a blues program on 99.7 while I was DJing and board operating Casey
Yeah, Stan had
show.
one. Yeah,
and
Stan had one.
That was a badass show.
He would play good. He had good repertoire. I saw Stan about 8, 9 years ago. I was playing in Portland, and he was living up there at the time, and he come out to see the band, and good guy.
The blues is something that
he was a blues player, yeah.
And you have that in common. You loved, I know you're more than that, but you really love the blues, don't you?
Yeah, it's the root. It's the bottom to pretty much everything. If you can't do that. And it was always very important to be able to perform and deliver the blues style convincingly without hysterics. If you're going to play rock and roll, by all means, rock. But if you're going to play blues, play it without the hysterics. And it's something we would call genre specific.
Right.
I see a lot of bad blues bands. Bad, terrible sounding. They don't get it. Some people that are less musical aptitude they don't have the soul, or they don't have the feel, or whatever
they know
their
something's missing.
be.
They just can't put their finger on it, like you guys, for example.
Right, and a lot of times it doesn't matter. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. It's so political. There's a blues society here in my area. I won't fool with them. I don't even want to be involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
The quality is so bad, and doesn't mean they're bad people. Doesn't mean that I wish them harm. Nothing like that. I just don't want to. I don't want to participate in that.
I know what you mean.
I would guess that's somewhat how you feel about terrestrial radio nowadays. I mean, what station would you go to?
I'm at the point now where I'm absolutely convinced that my job is not to join them, but to destroy them. Not out of vengeance. No.
Sure.
They passed up on a great opportunity, and so
right.
I gave them the opportunity. Several stations, bring me back on. Here's what I want to do. Here's the plan, and I get crickets. And frankly, this isn't ego. It's just God gave me this gift and all these years of experience, and you can speak to it yourself. At the end of the day, the folks who are in charge of these stations, I think they might be a little bit insecure when they hear the tape and they go, oh crap, I'm not going to have that guy come on and raise the bar, And
a lot of that is market too.
Yep.
The market that we're in, it's pretty diverse, and they're trying to appeal to everyone. That's impossible. Bill Cosby said it. You'll disappoint. If you try to appeal to everyone, you'll disappoint. Probably shouldn't be citing Bill Cosby as a quote, but Yeah, so that's a great example. The market that you're in, myself included, I live here in the Valley. Now, with the reach that you have, you can be heard anywhere in the world.
Right. Spotify.
And I think, I think that's great. You can follow the listeners. I have more listeners in Switzerland than I have locally.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's things like that. It's, stylistically, where do you fit? Well, maybe they don't see the Brummster on their radio. That's okay.
No, here's my problem is the Brummster's a cool character. The Brummster loves rocking out. The Brummster invites you to come into the party with him. And so theater of the mind, you're driving on a stressful drive home. Suddenly you stop thinking about the crap hole drive and you're rocking out with the Brummster. I provide people that escape, that vacation. And the Brummster might walk the line a little bit occasionally, be a little blue, but the Brummster understands that this is a family program. Classic rock, the music that we play is something that the kids should be able to sit in the back seat, and I should be able to not worry about dad or mom having to turn the channel. And when I tune into a quote unquote classic rock station these days, it's full of over the top blue humor, over the top, not walking the line, but over the top. Should my kids hear that right now? You know what I mean? Like that's where it's gone. When I hear the DJ at the Fox right now, the most popular guy there, which is a nice dude, but when I hear him, his voice style makes me think of a DJ at a stripper club. You know what I mean?
Well, that's because he's very close to that, and I know exactly who you're talking about. He started, if I'm not incorrect, he started at KRZR.
Yeah, and we won't mention names for who exactly it is because I hold no personal, issues with anybody.
No, I get it.
I'm speaking professionally speaking. This is where I've seen these stations go, and that's not the Brummster's. Not that. Matter of fact, the Brummster's up higher than that. And
there's a place for everything, and if that's what they want to do, okay, fine. There's nothing you can do about that, but continue your course, and if your product's genuine and pure, which it is, it's no problem.
Yep. Thank you, brother.
It's frustrating. I get it.
But I'm realizing that I don't have to. Yes, I've dealt with that frustration, but I've realized something with this Roadcaster and the gift God gave me and great friends like Brian Keith Martinez that plays Rock Stories with the Brummster every Sunday at 11 a.m. on rockradio559.com. Fridays, 5 to 7 p.m. I'm rocking the Road Show, Hard Drive at 5 with the Brummster music, where they cover the licensing and all that. And I mean, when you look at all that together, I'm like, wow, God, you've really planted a seed here and you're watering it. It's not how I thought it was going to go, but I actually think I'm going to go further this way than in rocking with the public than I ever would have in terrestrial radio, where they would have hid me in a room somewhere doing 10 jobs like Heyman on In Living Color.
You will. It's going to take you longer. It's going to take you longer, and it's going to be a longer path, but you're going to be better off for it.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be on the radio. You're supposed to be talking with people, entertaining people. That's what you do. It's what you do.
And the listener, you get Rock Stories with the Brummster. You get great guests and friends of the program and friends of the Brummster like AC Myles.
We haven't told many rock stories, have we?
Actually, you have. Number one, it's one thing if you have, a DJ who met a bunch of bands and artists, or you have, just a fan, like we have Joe Silveris, super fan of Kiss, and he came on and told all of his favorite Kiss stories, and that's just from the perspective of his super fan status,
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, so it runs the gamut on Rock Stories with the Brummster. In your case, you actually are a rock legend, in my opinion.
Well, legend is quite an overused term nowadays. I'm not a legend in my own mind. I will say that. I'm not that, but I'm the best in my price range.
Hey, and he's affordable. He's affordable. I love you, AC. You rock. Okay, well,
Thanks for having me on at any time.
Hey, real quick, Rock Stories with the Brummster. Again, check it out, Spotify, Anchor.fm. The Brummster, that's 2 M's. The Brummster Facebook page, all my links there. And playing every Sunday at 11 a.m. Rock Stories with the Brummster podcast on my friend Brian's station, Rock Radio 559.com, and then 5 to 7 Rockin' the Tunes every Friday. Thanks for joining us today. AC Myles, before you go, please let our listeners know. Wow. Hello.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry, I lost you. I heard the door ding. I was like, what happened? Let our listeners, he's on the go, ladies and gentlemen. Let our listeners know.
I'm on the go.
How can they reach you if they'd like to get music personalized? You do merchandise personalized. You have other performances locally in the future that you're working on. And just let our listeners know, how can they reach out and join you in your effort of entertaining the Valley and the world, all things AC Myles? Where can they go?
Is this the time for the shameless plug?
Yes.
That's not why I came on here, just for the record.
Absolutely.
But I'm still active as a musician. I'm not as active as I used to be. I've done it for over 20 years. I started as a teen and eventually found my way to the San Francisco area and the Los Angeles area, which, as you know, is 3 hours in either direction from where we're located. And that was where I kind of sprouted, so to speak. And I've been real lucky. I've been really, really lucky all over the world, 17 countries, 49 states, paid. I've been a very lucky man, and now I enjoy my time at home with my family. I don't really want to be on the road all the time. I'll do it if it's something that piques my interest, but for the most part, I just enjoy being home. I was gone for so many nights, for so many years, that I don't really have the desire, and age is also becoming a factor, to be honest. So, but I'm still quite active musically. That doesn't mean I quit playing music. I just don't have the desire to tour 250 nights a year, or whatever it was. Crazy number of nights I would play. So now we have a new album out. I don't even know if did I tell you about this?
Yeah, what is it?
I didn't tell you about this. It just come out this week. It's going to be on all the online platforms. Spotify, like you mentioned, and Apple Music and Pandora and all the rest of them. YouTube. It's a album. It's my first album I've done since 2017. So this is 2021. What is that? 5 years? 4 years? 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
I went to McLean. I'm not a math scholar. But so this new album is called Transitory because it is a transition, and it was very transitory for me to get this done. This is 10 new all-original songs, mostly in the rock realm. So classic rock fans will love it. A lot of southern rock and very much that type of sound.
I want to pipe in real quick, AC. Why don't you do me a favor? Fans of the Brummster, join me Friday, coming up this next Friday. And what I'll do is from 5 to 7 p.m., I will play one of AC's songs off of his new album on the Brummster's hard drive at 5 at rockradio559.com. Happy to do that, brother. Make sure that you pick the litter or send me a group of songs and I could pick one or two of them. But if you don't mind, I'd like to play a song off of your brand new album Transitory from AC Myles when I play this Friday coming up, rockradio559.com. Make sure you email that to me. How can our fans get in touch with you and access that?
Yeah, I'll email you the MP3.
I love it.
I remember before they used to have MP3s. Oh, jeez. I'm old.
Mail me the tape, please. No.
Yeah, mail you. I remember mailing tapes. Yeah, I remember selling cassettes at shows.
Yep.
$5 a piece.
Well,
That's how come I'm in the predicament I'm in today.
Hey, you know what? A lot of people out there have your music, and you could probably find some down at the thrift store as well. You never know.
Yeah, well, wherever the hell they do that now, the record depot.
Hey, brother, I apologize. We're at the end of the show, so I got to let you go. Again, give out your contact information if anyone wants to reach out to AC Myles.
Yeah, sure, real quick. The best way to keep track of where I'm playing live with my band and to find all our music and merchandise is acmylesy with a .com. So acmyles.com, acmyles.com. And we have a CD release show or an album release show on November 5th, Friday, November 5th in Fresno at the Full Circle Brewery. And that'll be Friday, November 5th. It's free. We made it free to the public. The guy asked what we wanted to charge for tickets. I said, no tickets. We want it free. It's our gift to our fans and people that have followed us for years and years. So that's Friday, November 5th at the Full Circle Brewing Company in downtown Fresno at 7 p.m. And you can find all our information, for CDs and shirts and hoodies and all the other stuff that we sell, our swag. I offer personalized CDs to your door shipped for $20, so I'll sign it and make it out to you. And all that information is at acmyles.com.
acmyles.com, that's with a Y, acmyles with a Y. .com. I've got to run. Hang on the line for our engineers. AC, thanks for being on the show, brother. Hang right there.
Thanks, Brummster.
Making it happen. AC Myles, rocking. It's Rock Stories with the Brummster. Real rock stories behind the scenes. What does it look like behind the curtain? You'll always find out right here. By the way, we air this program 11 a.m. every single Sunday Pacific Standard Time at rockradio559.com. We'll catch you later. Until next time, you're listening to Rock Stories with the Brummster. Stay tuned.